Hello everyone, this is Darius with the Game Junkie and welcome back to another video. Today we will be installing a new drop-in IPS display for the Game Boy Advance. This IPS display does not require any shell modification or cutting, and it's a great option for those who want to preserve the OEM shells. So let's get to it. The first thing we want to do is free the Game Boy Advance of any game cartridges or battery. First though, remove the 6 tri-point screws from the back shell housing. After that, there's a single Phillips point screw in the bottom of the battery compartment. Once you've removed all the screws, remove the back shell cover and move on to the motherboard. There are 3 Phillips head screws holding down the motherboard. Once you've removed those, put them to the side. Move on to the top ribbon cable. To do so, I undo the pins on each side of the ribbon cable with the spudger. Now that everything is free from the board, I simply lift it up and out of the front shell. Some of the membrane pads come with it. Remove those and remove the rest from the front shell casing. I also removed the rest of the buttons and the power slider at this time. Now onto the display. To remove the old display, I simply lift the front housing and gently twist the plastic shell back and forth to break the adhesive bond. I then use a spudger to push it out the rest of the way. The adhesive pad on the OEM display could be reused for the new IPS display, but the kit does come with the adhesive pad if you don't want to reuse this one. To remove the plastic screen lens, I pour some IPA, isopropyl alcohol, into the opening and work it around a little bit. It helps with freeing the screen from the adhesive. Then I just push it right out from behind the lens. The last thing to remove from the shell is the metal protective shield on the cartridge slot. There are 4 Phillips point screws to be removed, and the shield can be put to the side. Make sure as you are working you're organizing all the screws that you're removing from the Game Boy. With the shell free from components but still disgustingly dirty, I take them to the sink for a hot bath. Hot soapy water works well to remove the sweat and grime built up from years of use. Just make sure before you put it back together the components are all very dry. The serial number sticker did not survive the bath, but I will be replacing both of the Game Boy serial stickers and model labels with the new silver ones I got from Retro Game Repair Shop. Once the shell and their components have thoroughly dried, we can start reinstalling the components starting with that metal shield. I take one more step to clean the OEM shell by using a magic eraser, which acts like superfine sandpaper to remove some of the scratches and marks still left on the shell. I quickly wipe the shell down with a lint-free cloth and then use compressed air to blow out the screw holes, removing the last bit of moisture. Now that that's done, let's move on to the new display. This is a completely drop-in display, so we won't have to do any cutting or modifications to the shell. Great solution for this Game Boy because I'll be preserving the shell. But it would also be especially good for special edition Game Boy Advance models out there. First, take the adhesive square with the red backing, and once you've peeled the white paper, stick it on the back of the screen opening on front shell. When you place it down, place it up against the top of the shell. Next, we will take the long rectangle piece of adhesive and place it down at the bottom of the screen opening. Place it as far down as you can. On top of that small adhesive rectangle, we will be placing another similarly sized piece of acrylic that acts as a guide for the display. This is another long thin acrylic spacer guide that is applied to the left side of the screen opening. Install this one as far to the left as you can. Removing the protective film from the front side of the display, we can install the display up against the guides we installed on the bottom and left sides of the screen opening. Once it's installed, we can install the first of two insulating films. The first large square goes directly behind the display and underneath the chip that connects the ribbon cable. The second insulating film will be installed on top of the display board that came with the new display. Install the display board by inserting the ribbon cable coming from the display into the connector in the middle of the board. Push the cable in and latch it down with your finger. To install the touch sensors for swapping color palettes and brightness, simply peel the white paper off of the sensor and then you can install them. Installing the top color sensor in this location lines up with the Nintendo logo around the front side of the shell. And installing the brightness control sensor here lines up with the bottom right corner of the screen lens. Now, we can install the ribbon cable that will connect to our Game Boy Advance's mainboard. This Game Boy Advance has a 40-pin connector, so we use the 40-pin ribbon cable. Don't forget to install the second smaller insulator film on top of the display board to protect it from the Game Boy's mainboard that will be installed directly on top of it. Reinstall your buttons and membranes. I'm actually using new buttons and membranes from Extreme Rate that I purchased on Amazon. These are the white soft touch buttons. They come with new membranes as well, which I find to be pretty tactile and clicky. Once the buttons, side rails, and the R and L bumpers are reinstalled, we can then reinstall the Game Boy Advance's mainboard and continue with reassembly. We want to reassemble the Game Boy Advance just as we disassembled it. Now that we're about done with this modification, I will be replacing the existing OEM stickers with the new silver reflective stickers from Retro Game Repair Shop. The Game Boy is cleaned up, the IPS display is installed, and everything is ready to go. Let's test out the new IPS display. It performs surprisingly well. It gets bright and has swappable color palettes, which could come in handy for some games and maybe for color blindness. Tapping on the Nintendo logo changes that color palette, and tapping on the bottom right screen lens adjusts the brightness. While it may not be the very best IPS display, the ease of installation is a huge benefit. I've not noticed any ghosting or artifact, though I have noticed some light bleed on the black screen. Also, I noticed it's not quite as crisp as some of the other IPS displays out there. When compared to my Game Boy Advance's IPS V2 display, you can see a perceivable difference in the color saturation, as well as the crispness of the display. Thank you for watching this video. Stay Stay tuned for future videos, as soon we will be branching out into home consoles, as well as a special Game Gear light box that I've been working on. I think the next video I may be doing the Bybert kit for the Game Boy Pocket as promised in my last video. Like and subscribe to stay updated, and comment with any suggestions, or comment if you've tried this mod out yourself and let me know what you think. I'll see you all in the next video.